Hello and welcome to another episode of Pitbulls, Parolees, and a Producer. I am Billy Cooper, your producer, the executive producer and showrunner for Pitbulls and Parolees. I am joined by the owner, operator, and brains behind Villalobos Rescue Center and the main talent on Pitbulls and Parolees, Tia Torres. Hey, Tia.
What's going on behind you? Are you like in a spaceship?
No, I'm actually, okay, so truth be told, I'm actually not at my house. I'm at Andrew's house. See, there's Andrew.
Of course he has some fancy shit on his wall there.
Yes, this is a big screen that Andrew's got that he watches baseball on or something.
Jeez.
But then he put up a screensaver, so it's schmancy.
It's like, what is it, the moon or Earth or something?
Earth. It's where we are. It's Earth. Yeah.
Oh, all right.
For everybody just joining us, Pitbulls, Parolees, and a Producer, T and I are every week go through an episode from the archives of Pitbulls and Parolees and talk it through and get on the inside of the episode. And so for everybody who wants to know how it was made and what was done when we did it, this is for you.
Although my personal drama may be way more interesting.
We can get into that. That's a whole other podcast.
I mean, yeah.
Actually, that's your Straight Outta Swampton show.
Yeah.
That can be found on our network, Rabbit Reality Network. So
it will be soon. It will be soon.
Will be soon.
Yep.
Yes. Okay. So before we jump in, let me give our spoiler warning. This is a podcast about a past episode of Pitbulls and Parolees. If you have not seen the 5th episode of the first season, we would advise you to go to Discovery Plus, Roku, Hulu, whatever streamer you use to find the show. Check out the episode and then come back and listen. Or better yet, if you've seen the episode and want a refresher, feel free to pause, do a rewatch, come back. This is your warning.
Oops.
Also, Tia, today's episode of Pitbulls, Parolees, and a Producer is sponsored by, am I going to go with Chewy or Diet Coke? Coke Zero.
I wish they would sponsor me.
I know, right?
I know, but
when did the Coke Zero start?
Years ago. Actually, you know what? I got to give a shout out to Jenny Craig. They're the ones that referred me to it.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, because I drank Coke Classic, and I said, I'm telling you right now, there's no way I'm ever going to quit. I said, Okay, let me go back a step further from Coke Classic. Okay, so now you went down the rabbit hole.
Fine.
Okay, so ever since I was young, probably teenager, got chronic migraines constantly, every week. It was so bad.
Yeah.
My mom got them.
The production knows your migraines.
Yeah.
They give us migraines.
Right. Well, no, I would have like 3-day migraines every week. It was bad. And like I said, it was hereditary. My mom got them too. So back in the days, migraines were not really recognized like they are now. So all they wanted to do was prescribe to you pills, pain pills, this and that. I'm like, yes. Yeah. So finally, I ran into this one female doctor who explained to me what a migraine was and about your arteries clogging up. And she said, maybe take some caffeine. And so they had given me some caffeine pills.
Right.
Oh my God. I almost died. Man, I was barfing my brains out. And I had like the prickly, don't touch me skin. Yeah. So then they said, maybe, try drinking something with caffeine in it. Thus the Coke Zero, years of Coke Zero addiction, then wanted to lose weight. And then good old Jenny referred me to Coke Zero, which still has caffeine in it. And yes, I admit it, I am physically, emotionally addicted to Coke Zero.
Yes. And for everybody who watches, we got creative with our koozies. As the years went on, the show, we used to not care about logos, but in the later seasons, we started to care. And then we used to have your Coke Zero koozie. That was always the thing. Lots of koozie jokes.
Well, and the thing is this though, it is physically addicting, because like if I don't drink it, I start to get a headache and I get really nauseous. I mean, it is it's the real, All
right. Well, okay. So yeah. All right. That's a sponsor. So we'll say today's brought to you by
Thank
Coke
you
Zero,
for sponsoring me, my drug dealer.
If not for Coke Zero, you would not have made it out of bed. You would not have been sitting there in the chair.
No.
So thank you, Coke Zero.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get to the episode description. So today's episode, of all of the types of rescues Tia goes on, a wild pit bull on the loose in a crowded park is by far the most dangerous. but that's exactly what she and her parolees face when they track down a pit bull that has been living feral in La Crescenta Park for 2 months. Over the course of a very long day, Tia tries every trick in her book to capture this elusive dog, and at the same time discovering the poor animal has been under a constant attack from local coyotes.
First of all, it is inaccurate.
By the way, I didn't write that.
Yeah.
Andrew? Andrew, yeah.
Well, no, whoever wrote it, probably the network.
No.
Oh, yeah. She had been loose for like months and months. I was told like almost a year by the locals.
And the other thing also is that if you read that episode description, nothing else happens in this episode. But we know that's not true. You spent the whole episode rescuing a dog. No, other things happen in the episode. Yeah. Anyway.
And they also made it, well, go ahead. But they also made it to look like I rescued her like in 2 seconds or less, just because, when you edit stuff together. It happens, yes.
Yeah. So the title of this episode was called On the Run. Very creative.
Like my neighbor. I'll explain that later.
Long story. The episode originally aired on November 28th, 2009. Now, interestingly enough, this episode was the first episode to air on a Saturday, which ultimately became our regular time slot. The first 4 episodes aired on Fridays.
Okay.
Little interesting thing. Saturday became our regular go-to. Okay, so jumping back to your memories of this particular episode, what do you remember most, obviously, about filming this episode?
The frustration of trying to coordinate filming and dealing with the public while trying to, obviously do what we were supposed to do, which was to catch this dog. It was, being out in public with all the cameras. People were getting excited. They were getting in our way. They wanted to help. And so at that point, a camera crew became the curse, not by any fault of their own. It was just everybody getting excited about what was going on.
And, I mean, that park, La Crescenta Park, was it La Crescenta Park? It wasn't Griffith Park, because I remember I came on and I would think, So,
but it was big like that. It was way up into the mountains and just hundreds of acres.
So crazy.
Yeah.
This episode also featured what became one of the more challenging rescues in the early seasons. And this became, I would say, over the years, it seemed like there was one of these rescues a season. This rescue, the Buffy rescue, the Choo Choo dogs. It seemed like there was always a rescue that, in the later seasons. What was the dog at the prison? I don't know. In the deer blinds. What was I can't remember that dog.
Kizzy.
Kizzy. Yes. So this became a recurring theme. I mean, why do you think these became important to the success of the show?
Because it gave people, the viewers, and a lot of our viewers are other dog rescuers, other dog lovers. It gave them ideas on how to catch dogs that maybe they were trying to catch. Not every dog's going to run up to you, for a dog treat. So, chasing a dog down the street isn't, normally the best way either. So with these dogs, especially these dogs that have been loose for a while, their survival, way of thinking, it's heightened. They're looking around like everybody's the enemy. So you have to, be really creative in your ways of trying to catch a dog. And Park Dog, who we ended up naming her, I know she had 2 names. So it was
wasn't it Lady also?
Yes.
Later?
Yeah. Lady, that was what everybody called her in the park. We just named her Park Dog, and then ultimately just Park.
Oh,
that's what we called her. Vila was Park.
Got it.
But she was one of those that she had the survival, instincts of a coyote.
Yeah. And then, here's something that I've always wondered, and I think I've talked to you about this over the years. I know you don't really watch the show all that often, but I know you sometimes leave Animal Planet on in the background for your dogs, and you do catch episodes as they. Have you ever sort of checked the game film and learned from what you did, and it's next time if this happens I'll do this, and next time I'll do this, and next do you feel like because I felt like over the years your strategies for these big rescues continue to morph and change and get more you got better at it essentially.
Every situation requires different tactics, you
sure
know? So it just depends on the situation. I don't think there's one. I can't say that there was one that I regretted doing anything because we caught the dog, so that means we did something right.
True.
I love it when we would show these kind of rescues, and people come on social media and say, "Well, what you should have done." I said, "Wait, excuse me, I caught the dog, right? Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
enough said." So,
Right.
but I think only up until when I met Tammy. We'll talk about that later. When we did the wolf dog rescue in Texas, did I learn some truly out of the box dog catching tactics?
Right.
But yeah. So everything else, like I said, it's pretty much on the park dog rescue. We did try some. We tried some ways that we normally haven't, and I know one in particular failed miserably because somebody else tried to get involved.
Yeah. Well, and then there's a cutting room floor moment that we'll talk about a little later.
Okay.
Okay. This episode also featured Rocket trying to pass his Delta Society certification as a therapy dog. I mean, I know over the years you've talked about having a love-hate relationship with the term therapy dog.
No, service dogs. Therapy dogs are fine.
Service.
It's the service dog world.
Okay, my bad.
Just because of what people have done to that word in trying to make money.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about the standout storylines. So let me run through. These are when you and I go through all the storylines that are in the episode, and you and I get to pick which one we feel like is the most standout of all of them. So this episode featured Rocket's therapy dog training, like I mentioned, Lady the park dog, the shy terrier Zoe adoption featuring Patch and Wasco. And then the spay and neuter event at the ranch. Remember, and then there was two training students, Dreamer and Raider. Ultimately, you showed them getting spayed. This was also the one with the squeeze cage, which was not. I know if I remember correctly, wasn't a great thing that you did not like on the show.
No,
wasn't a good moment. So of all of those, I mean, for me, it's got to be Lady. Really.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, the funny thing, Tater I noticed Tater had a cameo in this episode because you brought out at the very beginning, you brought out two dogs. I think one was your training dog. What was his name? I can't remember. That was in Veronica Mars.
Lefty.
The red dog that used Lefty. Yeah. So I think Lefty and Tater were there. And yeah, it was original.
Well, I think it was Lefty. I had a bunch of red dogs. Was it Lefty, Duke, Zeus?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but probably Lefty because he's dog friendly.
Yeah. So yeah, Lady. The other thing also that I did want to ask you. I mean, it's funny in the first season in particular, there are a couple dogs. I mean, Wasco, and then ultimately Parker. That dogs that were rescued on the show and ultimately got turned around and became adoption dogs very quickly. I mean, that doesn't happen anymore, right? I mean,
no.
I mean, people always wonder why. I mean, obviously, I'll let you. I mean, there's a very clear answer. I'll let you sort of. It's
because now we have so many more dogs. Back then we only had maybe a little over 100 dogs. Right. Now we have hundreds. So when people come to adopt, there's just so many more dogs to choose from. And the thing is this too, is that a lot of a big misconception is that, oh, well, you have a TV show, so you probably have a higher rate of adoption. And I'm like, no, it's not true. It's so not true.
Yeah.
Because this is one of those times when the TV show can be a curse. Because I would say, I'm going to be generous. At least 50% of our adoption applications are just people who are starstruck and just want a dog from the TV show. So and we've learned the different ways of knowing this. I'm not going to say what they are because then someone's going to know.
Right. Then
what
people
not
will
to
start
say.
to outsmart. Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
But we've learned the things that they say and the way they act, and we're like, okay, you do not really want a dog. You just want da 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 da. So that's part of the problem. Is knowing, we have to not only do they have to be a good dog person, but are they a sincere adopter and not just wanting to be a part of the TV show, crowd. Yeah.
And then obviously, I mean, I was going to say, obviously heartworm became a much bigger issue.
Yes. That
now
was,
you don't,
right. the truth, because in California we didn't have heartworm. So we could get a dog in, get it spayed, neutered, shots, healthy, and boom, adopt it out within a couple of weeks. A few weeks. Right. Now it's like minimum 3 month, minimum 3 to 4 month, 5 month wait while they go through heartworm.
And then, how long did it take? Because you have drawn a line in the sand that you do not adopt out dogs that are heartworm positive.
No.
Is it? But I know there are other rescue groups that do. When did you draw that line in the sand? Like, what was the sort of thing?
When we started getting dogs that would go into cable. And cable is the advanced stages of heartworm. And when a dog goes into cable, you pretty much have minutes to do a life-saving surgery, which only, up until very recently, only one vet here in the state of Louisiana that we knew of could do it, and that was Dr. Kristen. And she learned to do that surgery on our dogs. So it was like, sending a dog heartworm positive to another state where they aren't used to heartworm. A dog was into cable, they're not even going to know what to do. Heartworm complications, we just said, you know what, we're not putting that on an adopter, we're not putting that on another vet, we're going to deal with it.
Right. I think it's definitely, sort of made your life a lot more complicated, but,
because we have so many, we're basically, the term warehousing comes into play because we are literally warehousing these dogs until they get through heartworm treatment. As opposed to we could get in we could get in a little white toy poodle, which you could probably get home in 2 seconds. But if he's got heartworm, got to sit here for months until they go through treatment.
Right.
So,
all right. So I think we can both agree, though, that standout storyline was Lady the Park Dog. Park Dog Lady, whatever.
Yeah.
Park, because ultimately became those sort of crazy big rescues became a recurring thing.
Right.
Harder and harder. And it was we never looked for them. That was the thing that's so crazy, is that you continued to get these calls. But we never, and I remember there were times you'd send me a rescue, like, hey, I have this rescue. And there are times where in my mind as the producer, I'd say, oh God, this is going to take months. We can't do this. Like, we don't have time to do this. And it's sort of like this push pull of you wanting to do it. Do you have the time to do it? Can you pull it off? Can we pull it off? Became very difficult. I remember there was a dog in like at a grocery store, like, I think you were in New Orleans, and then the dog was in Tennessee or so. It was.
Oh, that was at Walmart. The lab was at Walmart.
Easy,
they've been trying to catch the dog for months and months. And
months.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think ultimately you and I went back and forth, and I think you just decided. I think they had enough resources locally that they didn't need your help, and that was kind of this sort of.
That was sort of like. I do need to. It's on my little mental calendar that I do want to do a video. Maybe we do a video episode on things you can do to build to catch these type of dogs, because I get that all the time. How do you build your catch pens? What kind of things can I do? Just techniques on how to catch these type of dogs that are really difficult. People are super into that. Candy dying. Candy's dying. Producer down.
What, I was coughing? Is she okay?
She's trying to hold it in until she was like dying. She's alive.
Yeah, hold on one sec. Oh, okay, good. All right. So the twins, so the featured first, this episode features the twins. This was their sort of first real episode where we sort of saw them in action, and they were involved in the rescue.
What season are we on? Season 1?
This is still season 1.
Oh, God. Okay.
Still season 1.
Okay.
We're almost done. So then this also was the first multi-part rescues we've talked about. Now, this is the first use also that we showed using tranquilizers. I know this is part of, you talked about, this was the one tactic that you used that you regretted when you sort of put little tranquilizers in the hot dogs. Why? At this point, you can sort of look back, and why did you use them?
See, the thing is this, in the past, before I did pit bulls, my thing was trying to catch loose wolf dogs. Everybody got a wolf dog as a pet, and they're very hard to contain, and they would get away. Well, back then, there was no TV show. There was no cameras following me. So when I went out to try to catch a wolf dog, it was just me and the dog, or my friend Nicole and I. So nobody got involved, okay? So using tranquilizers on the wolf dogs, we could just literally sit there and just watch and wait for the dog to go lay down and just sit there until it starts to feel the effects of the sedative. And then we might have a chance to get up and loop it, catch it or whatever. This situation, because of the cameras, because of the production crew there, everybody wanted to get involved. So,
right.
She, takes a hot dog with a tranquilizer in it, and then someone spooks her, and then she runs off into the woods. Boom. Well, she's gone for the day because she's going to be taking a long nap till tomorrow morning. So that is why,
right.
in that kind of situation, it was something that, like bad move, mistake.
Right. Yep. All right. This was also the first appearance of trainer Steven, with helping Rocket. Mm-hmm. Can you talk a little bit about who Steven was?
Steven and I used to work together in the film industry. We trained dogs for the movie industry. He actually was most known for training the dog Buck in Married with Children. That was his big thing. Yeah, that was his thing. And very colorful guy. You always knew when Steven was in the room. Yep. Very, very, just ta-da! But, he's very sweet with dogs. Just, very, very, just a very good trainer. Very good trainer. He was just a lot of energy.
Yeah, he was a lot. He was extra, as the kids say now these days.
Yes. Oh, is that what it is? Okay, he's extra. Yeah.
He's extra.
Okay.
And he was involved behind the scenes, right? In the first season, like he was just around.
Yeah, he would help some of the dogs and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, we've sort of touched on this a little bit here and there. This is our time machine moment. Looking back, at the episode, is there anything you would have done differently?
Oh yeah.
With the episode.
Yeah. There was a couple of things.
Specifically?
Well, specifically for me, and we didn't talk about it a lot, was during our spay and neuter event, there was a dog that got dropped off by the owner, did not know how aggressive she was. And we couldn't even handle her. We couldn't get her to tranquilize her. So, we've used what they call a squeeze cage on the exotic animals to prevent the animal from hurting themselves and from hurting us, and vice versa. Anyways, it was very traumatic for the dog, and I absolutely regretted that. I regretted it. I just should have waited for the owner to come back. It was lack of experience. I'd never done a spay and neuter event before, so I just should have waited for the owner to come back and then say, hey, we can't do your dog unless you sit here and hold her, and let us put her under that way. But yeah, so I felt really bad. I did.
Yeah. Okay. And I know, obviously this was before my time, but I know there was conversation over the years that you wish that had been, as the seasons progressed, you and I sort of developed a little bit of a better working relationship in terms of what was in the show, what we showed, what we didn't show. You would watch cuts. You would ask us to take things out. We would. In hindsight, would you have asked for that to have been taken out?
Yeah. Well, I was just, but when taking things out, I didn't want this to be a show about like personal stuff with my family. It was like, no, we're making this about the dogs,
Sure.
So when there would be like little scenes
sure.
of like me talking to my kids, I'm like, no, take it out. Like we're not that kind of a show. That being said, that one particular shot with this poor dog, screaming and just being scared, I was like, oh my gosh, I felt so horrible. Like I said, the owner didn't tell us she was aggressive. It was just like, what? But again, it was just lack of experience for me, at that time, where I just should have, between the pressure of filming and, we gotta film, and having this big spay and neuter event. I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta get this dog in. How are we gonna do this? So. The dog turned out fine. It was just it was more of an emotional trauma for her. Yeah.
Okay, so now this brings us to our MVP and P. So our most valuable pit bull, most valuable person. Let's talk about the dogs first. So the choices are Rocket, Park Dog, and then ultimately Wasco. What do you think?
I think Rocket, man. I mean, there's things about him that people don't know, like the stuff that he's done.
Yeah.
Rocket actually went on to do movie work for me. And
He did?
yeah. And I mean, I have a picture of him. We were doing, I forgot what it was for. It was for commercial. I have a picture of him like attempting to jump over a 6-foot fence. They wanted him to like jump up at this fence. Well, with his 3 legs, he got up there, and I'm like, oh my God, he just tried to jump that fence. So he was pretty amazing.
That's funny.
He loved cats. That was his thing too. He loved cats.
And goddamn Fluffy Dog ruining his chances for getting Delta, the Delta certification. He was right there.
Yeah.
And that Fluffy Dog sort of pulled his, was he wasn't dog aggressive.
No,
he
loved
friendly,
dogs.
Right?
Yeah, he was dog. Yeah, he would love dogs.
Yeah, and that was he just wanted to play.
Yeah, he loved dogs.
Yeah. I'm going to agree with you there. I got to give it to Rocket.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's great.
He's pretty amazing.
I mean, I think I met Rocket I think I only met him like one time by the time. And what ultimately happened to Rocket?
He got a home.
He did get a home. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so the most valuable person. Let's talk about it. So we got Mondo, you, and then this is my sort of like out of the box choice because it's sort of a little inside. Mariah, because there was a scene that made the cutting room floor that I remember lobbying really hard to try and get in the show, because this is, I think, one of the first episodes I worked on in story, where you guys actually set up a Scooby-Doo style like net with like on a tree, and you pull the rope and the thing. And Mariah,
we were catching part. Oh yeah, and that didn't get put on the episode.
It didn't get put in the episode. It became a cut scene, and you used Mariah. She had to sit in the net while you tested it.
Wow. Yeah, I remember that.
So, yeah,
taking one for the team.
So as much as you want to give it to Mondo for working his butt off and trying to get the dog, Rocket there. Mariah, like torturing your daughter and making her go up in a net. Like, come on.
Yeah. Something out of the jungle when we put nets down for the wild animals, Yeah, I remember that. Oh, yeah. I forget. That was one of the, I don't know, it was one of the people at the park's idea. They were like, let's try this. I'm like, oh, this is so not going to work, Yeah.
Right. All right. So Tia, any sort of that brings us to the end of this episode. Any final thoughts on this show, on this episode in particular?
I mean, Park was with us for years. She stayed with us. She only passed away just a few years ago. So she lived a nice long life. Yeah. So that was really cool. Actually,
she never really got over being feral, right? She sort of always was.
She was good with her poo, who she got to know. Her best doggy friends became Arnold, my old big bulldog Arnold, and Johnny Danger. Johnny Danger. So those are her buddies. Actually, when we got displaced from Hurricane Isaac, she went to the hotel with me, and she lived in the hotel with me for a while with my dogs there. And then ultimately, she came out here to Assumption Parish. So she lasted. She was around for a long, long time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Park dog.
Any plugs? Like, we want to plug. Come on, this is our opportunity to plug something else. What else we doing?
Plug what?
I don't know. We have other shows we're working on. What else you want to coming? Okay, so I'm going to say that coming soon, or maybe even having been, depending on when this goes up. Straight Outta Swampton. Well, explain to everybody what Straight Outta Swampton is.
It's like a dog news show I'm putting together, kind of like a variety show. Where I guess is the way to say it. Just talking about different stories and different stories that are in the news about dogs. Whether it's an incident that happened or any behavioral stuff, fun stories, happy endings, things like that. So that's kind of what I'm putting together right now.
So, all right. Yeah. So look for that and other shows, other content on this platform and others. So this episode of Pipples, Parolees, and a Producer has been produced by Candace Cobbett with the hanging in there.
The choking producer.
The choking producer. Pipples and Parolees, and a Producer is a Rabid Reality podcast. For more content like this, please check out therabidreality.com. I was going to try out a sign-off line. I was going to just do this. So let's try it out. Let me know what you think. So my mission is to podcast. My hope is that one day we'll just keep doing it. I'm going to take that as a big no.
I don't
No.
I don't know that's gonna work, Billy Cooper. You can be really corny sometimes. Did you come up with that, or did Andrew?
No, I'll cop to it. That was me.
Yeah, you're usually the cornball.
I'll keep working on it. I'll keep working on it. All
yeah,
right.
yeah. I don't know
All right, thanks to you.
I don't know what a sign off
All right.
should be.
Yes, I know. All right, we'll keep working on it. All right, thank you. All right, see everybody soon. Stay tuned for more episodes. Thanks so much.
Toodles.